Hello. It's good to have everybody here today. It's good to see you. A little drizzle outside, but it's nice and warm in here. I want to have an exciting announcement here. Vanessa Robbins has decided to join our church family. Vanessa, do you mind standing up real quick? Yay! Behind that mask, she has a lovely smiling face. And so glad to have you here with us. And everybody just get to know Vanessa, and we look forward to serving the Lord with you. And she's already filled out some things that she wants to volunteer on. So just a great example. And just want to remind everybody to go to the involvement board and find somewhere that you might be interested in serving. And the fun thing about that is, you can do something for a month and say, wow, that was fun, but I want to do something else. And you can switch to something else. And just find your niche and where you have a passion. It's just so great, and a great opportunity that we have. Now, isn't that a pretty picture right there? Now, if you're hiking, just naturally, which path would you choose, you think? How many of you would choose the left path? Okay. How many of you would choose the right path? How many of you stayed home? Some of you, I know some of you neither. I'm staying home. Now, more chose the right path. Now, why is that? For those of you that chose the wider path, now you heard the scripture read. Now, why did you choose the right path, the wider path, huh? Raise your hand so I can see. Yes? It's lit, okay? It's better lit, so you're not going to stumble. You can see things better. Good. Why else? It's wider. Okay, good. Yeah. So you and David can walk hand in hand, down there. So you have a wider path. And so, yeah, that's more freeing, right? For some of us that may be claustrophobic, you choose a wider path for that reason. Was there something? Uh-huh.
It looks smoother.
It looks smoother, right. Yeah, definitely you can see a route there, right there. Now, if you go on paths and you like to go hiking, I know I do, this happens sometimes. You come up and say, oh, okay, I'll choose this path. So that decision comes to us at some times, right? Now, for those of you that chose the left path, why did you choose the left path?
It's actually a part of the trail. The right side is the service path.
Wow! So if you couldn't hear Dylan said the left side is the trail, the right side is for the service path for trucks and stuff. So if you're going to go to 7-Eleven, you go the right path. Okay, that's funny. Interesting. Why else choose the left path? More interesting? You've chosen both paths. You've been to this place before. Yeah. Honestly, that's what I would do. Well, it's interesting. If I was by myself, I would choose the left path. If I had my kids with me, I would choose the right path. Okay? You might say, why? Well, the left path, looks a little bit more adventurous, more challenging, and I like that. I want to do it. But if I have my kids with me, I'll look at the left going, someone's going to fall. I'm going to have to carry them. Let's go the right path. It's interesting how we think that way, isn't it? Well, surely we don't think that way when we think about spiritual matters, do we? Well, let's think about it. And it goes to decisions that we make. Some decisions that don't seem big or huge. Right? Have you ever had those decisions looking back? In the moment, they weren't that big at all, but they ended up being really large. Now, of course, it could be something, I'm going to go into work 20 minutes early, and you get in a car accident, that kind of thing that you can't control. It seemed like a small decision, but it was large. And I tell you what, something that I always told my new college students, usually the friends that you make the first 2 weeks are your friends for 4 years. And it's interesting how they do that. Now, when you go to college and you think, okay, I'm just going to keep meeting new people. But a lot of times, those places and people that you meet at first, that's where you're going to go. So you don't think it's a big deal, but it ends up being a very large deal. Okay, I'll say I'll go a date with him, even though, we don't agree maybe spiritually, but it's not a big deal. It could be a big deal. So it's interesting, sometimes those small decisions are very large, okay? And so that's why I put a lowercase d, decisions. And I think every decision is pretty important. That's why sometimes it takes me a little bit longer to order at the restaurant. I just don't know what I want with my baked potato, And so you have to think about it. And so every decision, I think we need to think about it with the Lord to help us. So some decisions will have long-term consequences. And we go into those decisions knowing that there's going to be long-term consequences. All right? The trail going left or right. Now, there's going to be consequences, and if you've never been on that trail before, you don't know the consequences, but you know there will be consequences. That can make you a little nervous when you're at a crossroads of life and you've got a big decision. Let's say, like I said, what school to go to, what 2 jobs to take, okay? And you have obvious choices, and you just don't know what's over the hill of those 2 choices. So there's long-term consequences. So it's good to know as much as you can beforehand. Proverbs 3:5-6 says, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and do not lean on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge Him, and He will make your paths straight." The straight path is the desired path. I know it's kind of neat to be on a windy path, but when you're still walking on the path late at night, you want that path straight and smooth, all right? And so it's very important to trust God's instruction. So let's say we're at this hiking trail, and there is a fork, but hey, you have a map. And there are some descriptions about the different trails on that map. And some would say, okay, this is a challenging way, but it's the safer in the long run path. This other way, it's easier to go, but you end up going off a cliff and you die. Now, if you're still scratching your head about which way to go, we should probably talk about some things. All right? But wouldn't it be good to have a map that says, this is the way you need to go, not this way? The Bible is a great blessing to us in the teachings of Jesus because He does that for us. He says, this is the way you need to live your life. So we need to think of Him, think of Jesus, think of God in every decision that we think about and decide. Not just the really big ones. Some people think, okay, I'm going to save God for those really big decisions, and I'm just going to make all the little decisions on my own because I want to have some fun. Well, it's those little decisions when we want to have fun or usually get us in trouble. All right? So we need to think about God in every decision, about who we spend our time with, what we watch. Those little decisions can have big ramifications for us. So, interesting, if you've been to this path multiple times, maybe you've gone down the wide path some, and you backtracked and said, I don't want to go down that way, I want to go down the small way. So what I want to do now is I want to talk about the 2 paths just a little bit, okay? I want to reread this passage that Jim read for us, Matthew 7:13-14. "Enter through the narrow gate, for the gate is wide and the way is broad that leads to destruction. And there are many who enter through it. For the gate is small and the way is narrow that leads to life, and there are few that find it." Now, when I first read that, if you're like me, I want to say, oh, I wish more people would choose the better path. I wish the wide path was the right path. I wish the wide path was the one that Jesus is saying most people are on going to heaven. But that's just not true. Now, we choose the gate we go through, the path we walk. And a question that you may have is, well, maybe that was true in Jesus' time, but it's not true today. Maybe back then, yes, a lot of people were choosing the wide, easy path that led to destruction, but now today, I think most everybody's going to heaven. What do you think? You think this is still true the way that Jesus said it? I do. I think this is true for all time. Because usually people take the easier path, like many of you did when you're simply walking and you have kids and other people with you. You want to take the easier path. And that's fine to do when you're simply hiking, but that's not the right way to do when you go through life. Simple example. if you're in class. And the harder way is to study, get ready for the test, and do the best you can. The easier way is cheat off of your friend. A friend that you know does very well in class, and you know you don't have to stay up late at night, you don't have to be stressed, you can just copy it off of your friend and make a really good grade. Now that's easier, but it's definitely not the better one. And it very well could lead to destruction if you're caught cheating, and you need to know that material later on for other tests and other classes, but you didn't study it and didn't learn it. So the wide path is easier in the moment. And I say in the moment because what it seems like to me is that people are on this path, it's usually harder for them later on, right? It's nice and easy to buy that new car, but it's harder long term when you have to keep paying for it, right? And so some decisions we pay for a long time. In the moment, they're so easy and fun, but if you only knew that you're going to be paying for it for a year, 5 years, 20 years, you'd choose differently. Now, some decisions may make you limp for the rest of your life. Would you still make that decision? Now, before you answer, it may depend on what you did. Now, if it was a foolish thing that you were just like jumping off a roof to see what it felt like to fly, then yes, you may change that. But if you push someone out of the way of a bus and save their life, then you may be okay with the limp. So some things cost you, but it's worth the cost. Some things it's foolishness, and it's not worth the cost to do it at all. Okay? So this path is wider because it's more crowded. So if it's more crowded, then most people are on this wider path. All right? So most people, you go to Kroger, you go to Walmart and other places, you go to a football game. Do you think most of those people are on the wider path? If this scripture is true, yes. Now, I'm not asking you to take a piece of paper with you and count off the people that's lost. Yes, definitely lost. You know, but just know generally that most people are choosing the wide path. So therefore, those people's decisions about what to do is going to be wrong. So you've got all these influences around you. Now listen to what the wise teacher said about this. The way of a fool is right in his own eyes. Okay, you know, when someone's making a wrong decision, it makes so much sense to him or her. You know, you go to Waffle House and you get your potatoes, top, chopped, leveled, you know, creamed, whatever, and you get everything on them. Everything. I want it loaded and doubled. In the moment, it seemed to make so much sense. And talk to that person in 2 hours, it doesn't seem so wise. But in the moment, the fool is confirmed in their decision. And many people do that. Even when you know it's a wrong decision, you can hear your friend say, no, it's the right thing to do it. But a wise man is he who listens to counsel. And I want to say, if he listens to counsel, then he must be going to someone for counsel. You won't listen to counsel if you're not going to get counsel, advice from other people. Okay? So who is on the path with you? All right? Maybe you're going through life. I imagine a lot of people are in life and they don't realize which path they're on. All right? Well, a good way to decide what path you're on is to who's around you on your path. And would you say they're wise people? And they're making good decisions and having a good life? Or are they not so wise people and they have a lot of consequences to bad decisions? Now, if the people around you are the lot that you would think, oh, I must be outreaching to these people, and I didn't realize it. Well, then maybe you're not just outreaching to them, you may be on the path with them. Now, just to let you know, I think a lot of people that come to church fool themselves that they think, I'm on the smaller path that leads to heaven, but I just like to walk the wider path so I can be with other people. So I can help them along, to show them the way. And I may have told you this before, but I've known people that would go to bars, and I said, why are you doing that? Well, they need Jesus, and that's why I go there. And they're serious. And I break the news to them, say, you know what, they don't live there. They actually leave the bar at times. You don't have to go there to go talk to them, okay? Because what happens a lot of times, people, they put themselves in spiritual danger in order to save those people, but they themselves become lost. And a lot of times it's a state of denial for themselves. They say, I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine, and then it's way too late. They're way downriver before they can come back and swim upstream. And so that wide path is so tempting spiritually. So many people are on it. Look, they're having such a good time. And surely so many people can't be wrong. Wow, we've heard that a lot of times, haven't we? Surely so many people can't be wrong. Well, so many people will be wrong and are wrong. So let's look at this narrow path. And Jesus talks about it in another place here. Let's look at John 10, verses 7 through 10. So Jesus said to them again, truly, truly, I say to you, I am the door of the sheep. All who come before me are thieves and robbers, but the sheep did not hear them. I am the door. If anyone enters through me, he will be saved, and will go in and out and find pasture. The thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy. I came that they may have life and have it abundantly. Doesn't that seem good? Now, if you're looking at the map of the trails, and you see one that has a gate that leads to good pasture, goodness, righteousness, heaven, and the other one is filled with thieves, robbers, and bruises. Which one would you choose? Now, sadly, a lot of people think, well, I'm tougher than those other guys. Those thieves won't catch me. I'm too quick. That's foolish, isn't it? Everybody on this wide path gets robbed and gets killed. Everybody. Not just the slow, not just the ones that can't think quick on their feet and dodge the arrows. 100%. Now I'll tell you, those on this other path, 100% go to heaven if they stay on that path the whole time. 100%. So Jesus is the gate to the narrow path. And it's not enough if you just know about Jesus as the gate. But you actually have to go through the gate. Isn't it interesting? He says that those can go in and out and go to pasture. And you maybe think, why would they go in and out? Well, you go in at night to be safe from wolves and others. And you go out during the day to feed. And then you're brought back. That gate is good because that gate would not allow thieves and robbers to come in. That's Jesus. He's your protector. He wants what's good for you. And you may think, I don't want to be told what to do my whole life. Well, you don't have to be told what to do by Jesus. You can be told what to do by the devil. The thing is, the devil wants you to, will entice you with what you want in the moment. Jesus entices you for what you want long term. And it's interesting, once you get that taste of doing what's right long term, you enjoy it in the moment. It's kind of like saving for retirement. You don't like it in the moment, putting away the money, but then you see that growing. It's like, well, this is good. I'm going to have a good future. I enjoy putting it in daily now. You are investing into an eternity with God and Jesus in heaven by making these good decisions. So not as many choose this way, though, because they think it's boring. They don't think it's fun. I tell you what, I have much more fun as a Christian. My life has been extremely exciting. You know, going to different countries, being with people I never would have known before. The Christian life is exciting, and I don't know who I'm going to meet from day in and day out. For example, because of my faith, we were in Gatlinburg, and I had a very interesting conversation with a sales lady there, and we were asking about something there in Gatlinburg, and And often what I do when I see someone with tattoos, I say, what's that for? I'm nosy. And so she's like, well, it was a semicolon. Have you ever seen that? Do you know what that is, that tattoo's for? That means she's a survivor of a suicide attempt. And I said, oh, what happened? And she said, well, I had a church experience. I felt really bad. I made some decisions, and I tried to take my life. But I survived it, and I wanted to remember it, so I put that tattoo there. That's what it means, that semicolon, the dot and the comma there. And I talked to her. I was like, well, you need to find a good church. Can I say a prayer for you? And she got a little emotional. She's like, no, not today. Now, that's exciting. You may think, ooh, who wants to have a sad conversation like that? I love them, okay? But, because you know what? I told her, it's like, God loves you. When I live, God still loves you. Now, how much is that blanket? But you get to have that conversation with people. And, it's easy for someone in that situation to think, God doesn't care. He doesn't love me anymore. Why is he reaching out to me? She knew that day that God loves her and that he was reaching out. She couldn't say that day. That's us. Is that not exciting that God uses us to do his work? I love it. And if that is boring to you, then I don't think you know what excitement looks like. And I want to invite you on this wonderful path. Because I want you to beware of the thief and deceiver. And the biggest thief is the robber of time. He's the biggest thief of time that you'll ever know. You would say, you know what, I'll get serious with my Christianity later, when it's time to be serious. And then 10 years have gone, and you've lost 10 years to live for Jesus. 10 years of relationships and people that you didn't impact for him. 10 years of regrets. And you never get that time again. Never get that time again. And he deceives you so much. So you have to make choices that separate you from the other path. Maybe it's coming to church on Sunday. Because, you know what? No, I don't need to come to church. I'm sure all these other people that don't come to church, they're okay. He's a deceiver. You only have the chance to come to church this morning one time and be together with each other. One time. You'll never have it again. And what do you think God sees when you make decisions? Tuesday to spend time with family or yourself, you have to make these decisions wisely to be on the right path. And I love that last part of verse 10. Enjoy abundant life. Not just life, but abundant life. Because the other life is a miserable life. It really is. I talk to people on the miserable life often, and I try to say, it doesn't have to be that way anymore. You can get on the path of a good, abundant life. Yes, but I'll miss out on all this bad stuff. Now, they don't quite put it that way, but that's what they say. Isn't that wild? It is such a joy to know Jesus, isn't it? It's such a joy to be on the right path. But many of you are tempted to get off the right path. And maybe you don't know it, but some of you know it. You may be right there at the crossroads. Now, you see the crossroads one time. You don't see the exact separation on an actual hiking path. But this comes to us daily. Am I going to stay on the narrow path? Am I going to stay on the path that leads to heaven? Or am I going to get on the wider path? You have big choices to make every day. And you are either inviting people to join you on your path, or you're being invited to join the other path. Okay? And I'll tell you what, the more you invite people to join you on the path, the smaller path, the less you get invited to be on the wider path. Why? Because they already know your answer. They don't want to waste their time. When you're inviting them to church functions, like Dylan had us over the teens and preteens and families last night. That was awesome to be there, to be there and be with other people singing some good songs. And if people say, hey, why don't you come do this other stuff, and you tell them no, but you invite them to come to like a devotional like that, they're like, ooh, if I talk to them again, invite them to something Not so Christian. I don't want them to invite me to the Christian thing because then I'll feel guilty. They won't ask you to be on the wider path stuff as much. Look at Ephesians chapter 5, 15 through 17. Therefore, be careful how you walk, not as unwise men, but as wise, making the most of your time because the days are evil. So then, do not be foolish, but understand what the will of the Lord is. So, are you making choices that keep you on the narrow path? You know that much better than I do. And finally, John 3, 20 and 21. For everyone who does evil hates the light and does not come to the light for fear that his deeds will be exposed. But he who practices the truth comes to the light so that his deeds may be manifested as having been wrought in God. So do those you spend time with love the light? The people you spend time with, would they be embarrassed if people knew what they did? I'm not asking just about you, but the people you spend time with. If the people you spend time with are doing things that they would be embarrassed about, then they are influencing you. Be with people that you would be proud of as well. The light exposes actions you are proud of or embarrassed by. So these two paths here are really hell and heaven. All right? I just want to make sure you understand what I'm saying. It's not just a hiking path. It is hell or heaven. And the path is wide that goes to hell. The path is narrow, and few find it that go to heaven. Few find it. So if that's true, then many people are being tricked. Many people. Let's not be one of those. Let's choose that narrow spiritual path and walk with Jesus, because Jesus is on the narrow path. That's the one I want to be with. Please come forward if you need the prayers of the church.